the MW4 beta in a couple of days, the Black Ops 7 cycle is coming to an end, and this game was disappointing to say the least. It was very overhated in my opinion. It's a solid Call of Duty, but there are definitely some reasons for the hatred that it got, and there is a lot to talk about. There are like 5 or 6 points I have that can branch off into a bunch of different points, but I think in a couple of years we're going to look back on Black Ops 7 and say that it is a solid Call of Duty, and it probably got overhated. I think it'll be looked at positively in the past when we get there, but when we look at it at a current day, it definitely has its flaws and failures. So let's go over that. I think starting off, and really the biggest hit to the game, was the instant failure of the campaign. What a joke this campaign was for Black Ops 7. It was literally one of the weirdest things I've ever seen Call of Duty do, and I just don't understand how they thought that was going to go over well. When you think about like people reviewing the game and getting their hands on the game early and putting in ratings and all this, you think about like IGN rating a game or something, right? When they're rating the game, they're not necessarily rating it for multiplayer, for zombies, or even if they are, those things don't come out as early as the campaign. And when this game's campaign came out, it is such a joke to the Call of Duty franchise that it was going to get bad ratings, it was going to get hated on, and it was instantly going to get people talking in a negative manner about the game. Even if Black Ops 7's multiplayer was perfect and the zombies were perfect, it was going to get less sales because of how much of a joke that campaign was. Even though like the mode after that campaign isn't necessarily bad, like Endgame or whatever it is called, isn't necessarily bad. When we're talking about a Call of Duty campaign that you need online for, that isn't going to hold up in the long term, and really has no story-driven aspects that are actually good, like I don't even know what we were playing. It was like a Warzone-ified campaign. I don't even know. We've seen that with games taking a hit in the past. When I think about MW3, that game got a lot of hate and a lot of disappointing sales off the rip and talk about it because of how bad that campaign was and how one-dimensional and short it was with the MW3, even though MW3 was a very similar game to Black Ops 7 where the multiplayer was pretty solid and it was the second on a 2-year cycle, and clearly they just did not put work into the campaign, which is mind-boggling nonetheless. But I think the joke of the campaign really disrupted this game's momentum and really shot it dead. I think it killed any chance for it to be a good Call of Duty game when all the headlines for the first 2 weeks was, I'm not buying this game because what a joke of the campaign. Like, what am I playing? It's literally, slop, right? And I had people who don't even play Call of Duty sending me clips and being like, dude, what are you possibly playing? Like, this is such a joke, right? And I think that was a really hard thing for them to move on from. It is clearly a problem that if all three like modes in a Call of Duty game aren't polished in one, especially like the campaign that really is like a nostalgic mode that really doesn't hold value or give them a lot of money necessarily, but it still does go to showcase the community's like care for the mode, and it needs to be a solid product, because I think when it isn't, it really does hurt the Call of Duty. The use of AI and generative AI for calling cards, I think they used it for emblems as well. This is a big problem in the world in general. I completely understand where people are coming from, and especially coming from a billion-dollar company that can easily make someone's career making calling cards and has done it throughout their entire history, and they have not had people, AI has not generated calling cards in the past. For me, it is such a joke to think that they actually used AI, and they even have been using AI in MW4's marketing. I think it is a big joke, and it deserves the criticism it's gotten. Let's keep art to humans. It is insane to think that humans are working in the factories and the robots are creating the art. Let's keep humanizing and creativeness in art, and especially in video games. Like, this is, in my opinion, such a joke to think a big company like Activision, like Treyarch, are using AI in this way. It deserves the hate that it's gotten, and I hope future Call of Duty games understand the backlash that it got and goes away from AI. But I understandably, or don't understand, but I think that the future is going to have more and more AI stuff and AR slop all around. It is a joke to see it in a big franchise like that. Like, I don't know, if you're talking about some indie game and they needed some calling cards, I could maybe understand it, but we're talking about Call of Duty that generates millions and millions and millions of dollars and has been around for way too long to be putting up slop. I think maybe the biggest downfall of this game was the back-to-back release fatigue, as one may call it. Having two Black Ops titles back-to-back in Black Ops 7 and Black Ops 6 and Black Ops 7, are really bad idea. We saw it with MW2 and MW3. The big difference between those two titles, which I think helped MW3, was MW2 was the worst Call of Duty of all time, and MW3 was a very good and underrated COD. So people came back to MW3 because it couldn't get worse than MW2. It didn't. And with Black Ops 6 to Black Ops 7, Black Ops 7 is an improvement on Black Ops 6, but they're still both very mid Call of Duties, and their identities aren't very different, where I do think the identities of MW2 to MW3 are a bigger change. So I think the back-to-back oversaturation of Treyarch games and their arcade style of games is something they have to go away from. They understand it. If they're going to give me back-to-back Call of Duties and remaster as many maps as they're going to do and bring back old guns and all this like nostalgia bait almost, just give me one Call of Duty title where we're playing the best maps and we're getting the best guns. Like at this point, let's just make a Counter-Strike type game and let's just make Call of Duty, and let's just, when I queue into Call of Duty, I'm just playing the best maps and the best game. Like at this point, you might as well, right? If I'm loading into Black Ops 7 and I queue a game and I'm getting Raid and then I'm getting Hacienda and then I'm getting Summit or whatever maps, and I'm just getting like the same maps that we've gotten for the last 12 years on repeat. Let's get some new stuff in here, and we're really seeing that from Black Ops 7 to, like Black Ops 6 to Black Ops 7, and Black Ops 7 is almost completely just old CODs. Why not just give me a Call of Duty game where I'm not having to spend $80 and I just have one game? Like at this point, you might as well. For a full release as well, there was no discount, there was no nothing. This was a $70 release. If you bought the Vault Edition, it was $100. Like this is how it is, and really, it did not seem like that. It was very much a DLC, and a lot of players, understandably, are upset about it. To me, I 100% understand. I think they understand that too. They came out and addressed it and said, yeah, from Black Ops 6 to Black Ops 7, that was a mistake. They shouldn't do 2 games in a row. But really, like, it wouldn't have been that much of a problem if you just said Black Ops 7 was a 2-year cycle and then after 1 year did a huge update. I think if they were going to do that, it wouldn't even be a bad thing. Like, talking about the one Call of Duty product, if they did that and then they did a yearly huge update where they dropped a bunch of maps and whatever, like, Call of Duty could do that, but they're also going to lose their $100 they're making. Again, I personally think in a product that is complete, people are going to spend more money on things in the store and stuff. When I enjoy Call of Duty the most and I'm playing every day because the product is good, I will go and buy stuff in the store. When I was buying the most stuff on Call of Duty, it was during Prime Warzone, and that was some of the best product we got, right? But you know when I'm not buying stuff in the store? During the slop years, MW2, this year, other years. When I'm not playing the game, I'm not buying stuff in the shop. You may get me to spend my $100, but that's all you're getting. Where I think in Warzone, I spent a lot more than $100 because I was buying every battle pass, and I was buying packs, and I was buying MW 2019 just to level up the guns. So really, making a good product is what is going to make them the most money. I like to think so, but maybe not. I guess I'm not a businessman, but clearly Black Ops 7 did not make them enough money. So clearly they have to go back to the drawing board, and in my opinion, I think they have to go away from just Black Ops and Modern Warfare titles in general. Let's go back to making a Call of Duty Vanguard or a Call of Duty World at War or World War II. I'm not talking just old games. I'm talking like, give me Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. Why does it have to be Modern Warfare or Black Ops? Let's get away from these two identities of Call of Duty and let's make something fresh and new. Like, this is a billion-dollar corporation with creative minds. If you can't make something apart from Black Ops and Modern Warfare, like Black Ops 8, we're gonna play Black Ops 8. No, let's do something else from the Treyarch product. Modern Warfare 4, like, dude, I don't know. It's frustrating. Let's get something new and fresh in Call of Duty, and I think players are starting to really feel that. Other games are just coming around and they're doing more. So Call of Duty needs to get back onto their creative mindset and why they put their franchise so much above every other game, because right now they're just producing slop. I think this year for gaming, and I don't think MW4's year for gaming is going to get any easier, but I think this year for gaming also hurt Black Ops 7. With Battlefield on the way, I think Battlefield had a whole lot of hype to it, especially like the casual audience was very excited for Battlefield. And yeah, you could talk about Battlefield being a very, very big disappointment. Like, realistically, Battlefield 6 is one of the biggest disappointments in gaming in a long time. But it still took a whole lot of people out of the Call of Duty niche. And a lot of people were like, well, I'm just not going to play games until Battlefield comes out because this Call of Duty sucks. Or Arc Raiders came out, and that was a big hit. Or games like Marvel Rivals and Valorant and Fortnite are still existing in the multiplayer, like, online region. And I think a lot of people are just looking at Call of Duty and like, why? I have people who aren't Call of Duty diehards and are like, dude, I'm not going to play this Call of Duty. It's just slop. It's stupid. Like, what am I watching? Look at the campaign. Look at the multiplayer. Look at the movement. It's a little too erratic. It's a little bit too much. And I think they understand that. I'm a big fan of Omni movement. I don't think it's a negative thing. I think it may be a tad bit too fast. As a good player, like, I like the movement. I don't know if I love the wall bounce. Like, it's good, but I get why people don't love it. I think Omni movement is a good idea, like being able to sprint left, right, center, backwards, being able to slide in those directions gives your player more availability and comfortability, and also control, and that should be what gaming is and what Call of Duty should strive for. But I understand why people are against it. And I think a lot of people just thought the skill ceiling was really, really high in Black Ops 7 and ended up feeling very sweaty. So I don't want to, like, they need to find the balance between MW2's really, really clunky and shitty and movement and the difference between Black Ops 7's hyperactive, right? It's not jetpacks, but jetpacks were also more condensed movement, where I think Black Ops 7 is just faster. I know we're going back to tac sprint, which I'm not a big fan of in MW4, but they need to figure out some movement and like a middle ground. I don't think it's that hard. Like, I think MW3's movement is kind of like this grand smack of like being kind of perfect for me. Hot take, but I think Cold Wars was also pretty decent. And MW 2019, which gets a lot of hype for its movement, was very condensed and good, even though slide cancel in MW 2018 was a glitch that was not supposed to be in the game, and that movement would have been terrible without it. But nonetheless, B-Hop, all those different things a lot of players like to do differently, and I think with Black Ops 7's Omni movement being carried over Black Ops 7, that also lost its identity, which goes back to the back-to-back release fatigue that we talked about. But I think the competition this year with gaming was tough, and I don't think it gets any easier with MW4. Single-player games is destroying the market. They are crushing. The single-player product is only getting better, and with GTA 6 on the way, if GTA 6 drops it online, like, you're not going to catch me playing Call of Duty pubs in strict SBMM. Like, you're going to catch me on GTA 6. They need to make good product, and we're seeing it with games. Like, they're seeing their numbers drop. Like, multiplayer numbers in general are dropping, but making good product isn't super tough. Like, you look at the Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 1 ports that came out for Call of Duty, and they had a lot of hype to them. So realistically, Call of Duty knows what it needs to do, but will they do that? It feels like a lot simpler than, like, to me, it's like, dude, how like Call of Duty's product could be so good, yet it isn't, and I don't really understand that. But with stiff competition on the way, you never know what games are going to come out, but GTA 6 is definitely going to disrupt it. Like, I think about, like, the Wolverine game coming out and a lot of this different stuff. Like, Call of Duty it's got to figure it out, but realistically, I think it becomes a complete product that needs to be good. Like, they're putting Warzone on the back shelf for what? A shitty multiplayer and a mid-zombies? Like, what are you, like, you got to put Warzone and make it its own independent title. Like, I could talk about how Warzone needs improvement and needs to be its standalone thing and doesn't need all this clunk and it just needs to be by itself. But Warzone needs to be a lot better. The multiplayer needs to be a lot better. The third mode needs to be a lot better. I think they're going with DMZ this year, which will be interesting, but I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of DMZ in the past. I liked Dark Raiders, which, you know, is kind of in that same DMZ realm, but realistically, a lot of strict competition. I know no one is really striving in, like, the multiplayer scene. Like, Battlefield did not capture the multiplayer casual audience like Call of Duty maybe thought they could have more competition. But realistic, I think Call of Duty taking Game Pass, or I guess Microsoft taking Call of Duty off Game Pass, was such a hurt for them. I know that Call of Duty lost a lot of money through Game Pass, but realistically, like, dude, the amount of players that were able to play the game and then bought stuff in the game because they had Game Pass and was like, well, I have $80 to spend. I literally know people who bought Game Pass for that and was like, well, I have $80 to spend because I would have bought the Call of Duty, right? And I think for me, like, the loss of Game Pass and Call of Duty on it was a big hit as well. I think that with a DLC and not even, like, then taking it off Game Pass, it's just mind-boggling. I've seen it with other games, like MLB The Show took Game Pass off of it, and I could talk about MLB The Show's problems a lot, but it's just so weird, like, the numbers, like, and how bad it was off the rip, and some of their decisions. It's like, dude, like, you couldn't have seen this coming. Like, I get it's a business, and you got to turn a profit, and you want to turn a lot of profit, but some of the numbers I was saying, like, Xbox was going to have to pay Call of Duty, it was like $600 million or $800 million or something. I don't know if that's legit or not, to keep Call of Duty on Game Pass. It's like, dude, that's low-key insane, but a lot of people did not buy Black Ops 7 because it wasn't on Game Pass, and, like, it's just an easier way to get the game. Like, I don't want to spend $80 on a DLC. I know a casual player definitely doesn't, and some people who have been diehard people who put thousands of hours into Call of Duty games this year, I know aren't buying the game, which is mind-boggling, right? Like, if you're putting in thousands of hours, you'd expect to at least give the next one a try, but they're that tired of Call of Duty stuff. And I think another reason for that is COD HQ. I do not understand it. This one, for me, there is no rationale why COD HQ exists. What Call of Duty HQ is a, like, a hub for all Call of Duty games. And you'd be thinking, that sounds like a great idea. But when you have to download a Call of Duty game, and I've tried to download Call of Duty on PlayStation 5, and I'm downloading just the multiplayer, and then I download the multiplayer, and I don't have the multiplayer downloaded, and I have to download the 30 more gigabytes, and it's like a maze to just install Warzone on Call of Duty, or Warzone, or just multiplayer, or delete zombies. And then when you delete zombies, you actually deleted multiplayer. And then you can't play Warzone without multiplayer. Why is this happening? Call of Duty is too big of a game. Why is Call of Duty the only game allowed on my PS5? Why do I have 500 gigabytes worth of Call of Duty when I have one game? It should not exist like this. It's a terrible UI. It's terrible. Why? Separate the games. And what we're seeing is MW3 is not a part of Call of Duty HQ anymore. This old game isn't part of Call of Duty HQ anymore. So why does Call of Duty HQ exist? It is mind-boggling. I don't know a single person who thinks Call of Duty HQ is a good idea. I don't know if it's somehow making them money because it can't be a creative decision. The theory I have, and I mean a lot of people have it, it's kind of an obvious thing, and we're seeing it with different games, is Call of Duty, and probably is like the biggest one of this, makes their games obviously big, so you have less games on your console to play, so you're forced to play Call of Duty until you completely pull the plug out of it, and then you're forcing yourself not to play it at all, right? If I download 300 gigabytes onto my 800 gigabyte PlayStation 5, I'm only left with 500 gigabytes. Maybe I have GTA, which is another 100. I have 2K, which is another 100, and I'm left with like 3 games on my PS5, and I'm forced to play the 3 slop games. Not GTA, of course, that's game's 14 years old, but like 2K and pretty much any sports game and like Call of Duty take up half of your PS5, and it forces you to play those types of games. It's definitely a mechanism, and I think that's definitely why they do it and why they don't optimize their games more. I understand there's a lot. You have 14 multiplayer maps and 80 guns, and Warzone is this and that, but really, like 500 gigabytes, get rid of COD HQ. It's stupid. Like, I don't know a single person who's like, dude, COD HQ is such a good innovation. And I would love to hear like a genuine, honest review from like an Activision employee who's like, yeah, COD HQ is beneficial to Call of Duty success, because I do not see a way where anyone launches a new Call of Duty and it's like, oh yeah, I could just quickly launch Black Ops 6, because you're still going to have to launch a whole nother product from the COD HQ. Like, it's not even like optimized well. It's like the Robloxified version of things that we're seeing with like Fortnite and this and that, and like, why is UI in gaming so bad? Like, I don't understand, and COD HQ is a prime example. So really mind-boggling stuff. I love Call of Duty, and I truly think it can be at the top of the market for multiplayer gaming. I think that when it's at its peak, it is one of the funnest games to play in the world, and I truly think when a good Call of Duty comes out, it is so fun to play with your boys. It's fun to play with. I play with my dad. I play with my IRLs. I play with my onlines. There's so many people I can play with because it hits so many different boxes, right? You can play a slow search and destroy game. You can play Warzone. You can play zombies. You can play campaign. There's so much you can do in a Call of Duty game when it's hitting well. I really hope MW4 is good, but the future of Call of Duty is really getting shaky. I hope that they can straighten out their problems. It doesn't seem too crazy to me. Black Ops 7 was definitely disappointing, but I think we're going to look back on this game and really think that it could have been, one, better, but it really wasn't that bad. There's a lot about this game that, like, we can carry forward. I think some of the matchmaking stuff was a step in the right direction, even though that step is going back in the wrong direction this year. I think some of the movement was a good idea and a good try, even though it didn't really pan out to what they probably wanted. I think a lot of the maps and guns were pretty fun, but again, they have to figure out this arcade style of Treyarch games, and the audience is so split from a sweaty competitive side to a super casual side, and right now they need to find the balance, and hopefully Modern Warfare 4 can do that. If you guys enjoyed this video, remember to like, subscribe. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.